All right, this is kind of what I'm looking for in a river cane. It's usually a good thick branch about the tip of my pinky. Usually I try to find an arrow that I really like and shoot. This is a pretty good size one. So you can kind of see the general size there of it. That's my go-to. Don't get lost in the jungle. But so that's the size I'm looking for. But there's, to me, in my personal experience, I'd be interested to know if anybody else knows more than me the difference between, say, a male and a female stalk of river cane. But I harvested some river cane from this area in the past, and this is one that I want to avoid that has leaves. It seems to me that these are going to be very weak. I cut a bundle that was perfect diameter and straightness. I mean, beautiful batch. But once it dried out, it turned out to be complete just straw is what it ended up being. So I start finding more of the river cane like this that has the branches coming off the side of it. So I do see some taller sections in here. You don't want to grab the dried out dead ones. Those are ones that have seeded out and died off. So you want to find ones that are probably about 7-8 foot tall. Sometimes you can find the real good tall mature ones, or even short mature ones that just grew slowly, have good real thick walls inside of them, and they're in the middle, so they're going to grow straight up and have usually less deviation. So I'm going to dive in here. I'm going to start cutting a few, and then I'll come back and I'll kind of discuss what I got. All right, so I got some shafts cut. I've gone a bunch of them already over here, just debranched. But here's a good close-up of what I'm talking about, where here's one with leaves, one I don't want. And like I said, this is just from my personal experience. I have harvested a lot more that were real branchy like this. That's all I do is just pull them off, throw them in a pile, tape them up, and hang them up to dry till they're ready to straighten. But I have had good success, and everything that I have grabbed that had branches made arrows, or would have made an arrow for a certain bow. And so that's what I choose over this. And like I was saying, the one time that I grabbed a bunch of these right here, they didn't turn out worth a darn. They just turned into straw. So I'm not going to use any of that. I grabbed quite a few here that they'll probably won't really make all that great of an arrow, but I rather have them and they not work. Let me find a good example. I grabbed some from deep into the thick of it and see if I can find one with a good example of thickness. Yeah, here's a good example. Like, this isn't for the base of one. This is pretty thin for a base of one, but yet you can see how thick that wall is of that that river cane. So that's going to make a really nice strong arrow, and then it's going to be very. Hey, Clancy, can you leave that for me? my 2.5-year-old here is helping me video, and sometimes he'll be a commentator. Clancy, that's not a peephole. Sorry, folks, but you know, with it being so thick like this, but yet, so it's gonna be strong. It's gonna have a good spine for, you know, my bow setup. But then with it being this thin, by the time I take all the nodules, strain it, put a barrel taper up to my stone point, this thing's gonna fly stupid fast, and it's gonna penetrate wonderfully. So I mean, this is like my go-to if I can find, you know, a dozen of these that fly good and straight out of my bow. This is what I want for my quiver. You know, it's people say, you know, there's art in building bows, and there is, but I don't care how good a bow you make, it's worthless if you don't got an arrow that flies good out of it. So you can have a pretty weak bow, but if you have a arrow that flies true, that hits directly exactly where you're aiming, and you have the proper tapers and thickness and everything going for it, that thing will penetrate better than an arrow that is flying sideways out of a good bow. So arrows are definitely the missing link in a lot of people's primitive gear to be truly effective. And I'm talking about a package. That's the point, how it's hafted, the transition from the point to the shaft, to even your wraps on your fletching. I had a pig that I should have had a full pass-through on with a full primitive setup, and in fact, I broke that arrow, but that would have been a full pass-through if it was not for the fletchings getting caught in the skin. I didn't have a nice, even, smooth transition from the quill to the fletching, and so it was kind of humped up, and so it's almost like as that arrow was perfectly passing through, it got to the fletchings, and it's like it hit a wall and stopped right there. And it kind of gave me fits with blood trail too, because that pig ran for a couple 100 yards with the, I didn't go that far, 120 yards tops, which is still quite a ways, but he covered that in a short time, but made it heck on the trail for blood just because it was plugged up with that arrow. So, but yeah, I got a pile of arrows so far. So from here, I got some electrical tape in my pocket. I'm gonna tape all these together, take them back to the truck, and then they'll get hung up in my garage for a few weeks before I go back. And then I put some heat to them, strain them all out, and then start smoothing all these nodules out and all that good stuff.